Good evening. You're just in time for NTV Tonight, the top bulletin in town, live from Nation Center. Ahead.
Tonight, Tanzanian sentenced to life in prison for Garissa University terror attack.
For the first and second accused person on the charge of conspiracy to commit a terrorist act, each of them will serve 15 years imprisonment.
Also ahead, Somalia allegedly looking to use Al-Shabaab attacks in the battle over the maritime border. We have the intelligence report.
Plus, another round of jabs in the battle between the National Assembly and the Senate.
Remove them all together or make them a committee of this House.
And we should call them as legislative bandits.
We are beyond intimidation.
They want to kill devolution.
And yet another border crash victim laid to rest. The pain of the carnage countered by glowing tributes.
I will miss my son. One of the things that he challenged me with was his faith.
There's no way I could summarize how he made me happy.
NTV Tonight with Mark Masai and Smriti Vidyarthi.
Thanks very much for joining us. Flora Atieno is our sign language interpreter tonight. Now, in what perhaps provides a solution to the puzzle of the Garissa University attack, where 148 people were killed, a Tanzanian national found guilty of aiding the attack was handed a life sentence.
Two others, Hassan Edin and Mohammed Abdi, were each handed 41-year sentences for committing acts of terror and being members of the Al-Shabaab militia group.
Mel Miendo reports on a ruling that may be the first of its kind in the fight against terror.
It was Judgment Day for three convicts who the court found bore responsibility for the deaths of 148 people, mostly students at the Garissa University in 2015, for their involvement in one of the most brazen attacks in the country's most recent history. The court sealed their fate.
In total, therefore, the first and second accused person will serve 41 years imprisonment each. I will sentence him to commission of a terrorist act on each of the counts 2 to 150, where he will serve life imprisonment.
Rashid Mberesero, a Tanzanian, received the maximum sentence. The prosecution had wanted them jailed for 60 years, but the defense pleaded for them, saying that they were remorseful for their actions.
The law enforcement agencies in the country, the prosecution services in the country, will spare no efforts to ensure that the perpetrators and their financiers are brought to book. And this trend will continue. We'll continue putting our multi-agency efforts together to ensure that this fight succeeds.
It's a ruling that will perhaps bring the bittersweet prospects of some healing to families scarred by the terror attack, and one that has been hailed as a landmark ruling in the fight against terrorism. The convictions are the first from long-running investigations and prosecutions over terror. It's been reported that all 4 gunmen involved in the mass shooting were killed at the scene by security forces. Initially, 4 suspects had been charged over the attack. Sahal Dirie was, however, acquitted by the court.
It's a case that has spread over for about 4.5 years from when it was brought here at the Milimani Law Courts. As it now stands, the prosecution is satisfied with the court's ruling, but if the defense want to appeal, they do have a right to do so in the next 14 days. Mel Miendo, NTV at the Milimani Law Courts, Nairobi.
In the meantime, security agencies in Mandera, Wajir and Garissa have warned of possible attacks from a Somalia-based militia group with the aim of forcing the Kenyan government to soften its stand on the maritime border route with Somalia.
Seth Olale sifted through the intelligence report and now breaks down the mission of the attackers.
The Somalia-based Marehan militia from the Gedo region of southern Somalia and near Kenya's border town of Elwak may be planning a series of coordinated attacks on Somali clans on the Kenyan side of the border. According to the intelligence reports, the militia plans to disguise itself as Al-Shabaab and carry out kidnappings of teachers, medics and government workers. The militia is also said to be planning a raid of medical facilities in northern Kenya for supplies. The intention is to instigate clan wars along the border, create unrest, and carry out well-calculated kidnappings, all in a bid to force the government's hand to soften its stand on the maritime border row festering between the two countries.
In the actual sense, it's not non-locals are getting targeted, is their fabric as a society that is getting targeted, is a complete socio-economic sabotage that is getting targeted at our region.
We have agreed that political will is important, that there should be no doubt in the minds of Wananchi when a political leader talks that Al-Shabaab is an existential threat to Kenya.
On the 19th of June 2019, heavily armed Marehan gunmen attempted to kidnap a senior government officer in Mandera but were repulsed. The militants are also believed to be behind the killing of 10 Kenyan police officers in Wajir, whose vehicle ran over an IED. 2 days before the deadly IED attack, suspected Marehan militia kidnapped 3 National Police Service reservists who were responding to a distress call in Konton area.
These terrorists, they move among the people, they sleep there, they eat there. And there's this hush-hush about even being given other names like, Arsenal or whatever. They are given code names. We need them now to get out of that, and it is because of fear factor. So we need to remove the fear factor.
The intelligence briefs indicate that the militants have disguised on social media as the Northern Frontier Independent Party, a secessionist movement posing as freedom fighters. Security agencies are, however, thanking members of the public in the entire northeastern region for their continued vigilance and support. Residents are being urged to continue working with the government in order to thwart future planned terror attacks. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
But even as the security forces move to defend Kenya's border from the potential threats as posed by the report, the alleged cause, that's a maritime dispute between Kenya and Somalia, is escalating.
It's just one of the 3 territorial disputes the country is juggling at the moment. This week, Kenya and South Sudan agreed to form a task force to oversee an acceptable solution to the ownership tussle over the oil-rich Ilemi Triangle.
Lalo Mohammed examines Kenya's position as she asserts the country's claim to disputed territories while maintaining diplomatic relations with her neighbors.
President Uhuru Kenyatta and South Sudan President Salva Kiir, who was in the country on a state visit, announced a partnership to end the festering boundary dispute between the two countries. A task force to map out actions that will see an amicable end to the constant brawling between the Turkana of Kenya, the Toposa of South Sudan and the Nyangtom of Ethiopia at the contested Ilemi Triangle. But this is not the only front in Kenya's battle for its territorial integrity. Kenya's claim to a lucrative enclave rich in natural oil and gas off the Indian Ocean coast has been contested by Somalia.
If Kenya is going to lose that maritime territory, then at the continental shelf, you'll find that the line that Somalia is claiming the border should go will meet with Tanzania's border at somewhere the continental shelf, meaning that for ships to come and dock in the ports of Mombasa or Lamu, for that matter, they will have to inform Somalia.
In a couple of months, Kenya will present its case at the International Court of Justice at The Hague to protect its territorial integrity and sovereignty. But even as the lawyers prepare that particular case, another one is happening here in Nairobi, where Kenyans seek to stop the process from going on.
In the event that ICJ rules against Kenya, then Kenya's territorial integrity, as contained in the Kenya's constitution, is going to be impacted negatively.
There are quite substantial oil resources reserves in that region. So there are arguments that actually you have many other actors who are interested and who are pushing Somalia to go the route of going to the court rather than just having to resolve the case between the two countries.
The lobby group Foundation for Dialogue argues that in the constitution, Kenya's boundaries cannot be altered except with an approval through a referendum. Kenya and Uganda have also been working on a friendly action plan to end the dispute over ownership of the fish-rich Migingo Island in Lake Victoria. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Speaking of territorial disputes, from Kenya's north, one person has been killed and an unknown number of livestock stolen in Elbor village, Lalo Marsabit, in the latest flare-up of violence, in the county.
Authorities say there have been 3 successive attacks in the area in the last 2 weeks. A number of villagers have been wounded in the raids, as Sharon Baranga reports.
In the latest horror story from the death ridges of Marsabit, 56-year-old Denge Gufu, the latest victim of the violence there, was laid to rest in Eleboro village in Sololo, Marsabit County. Villagers say his life was cut short by a bullet after a group of about 6 bandits laid siege to their homes. They say the attackers were well known to them and to law enforcement. The attackers have been traced to neighboring Idido village in Maikona ward, some 40 kilometers from the scene of the shooting.
Na hiyo kati ya ng'ombe hii tuliona maiti ya ng'ombe 4 hapa barabara hii. Wakati tulikuja tukakuta fisi nakula ng'ombe 4.
Police recovered 38 spent cartridges. The latest incident comes just 5 days after the fighting Gabra and Borana communities signed a truce, an effort led by local political and religious leaders, community elders, and the national government in Marsabit town.
The security arms of this county must come open. Na kutuambia hii shida inatokana na nini? Na kwa nini sisi tunavamiwa? Yet ni jana tu ndio tumekufanya makubaliano.
Last week, 2 villagers were wounded and a known number of livestock stolen. In 2 weeks, there has been 3 attacks and livestock taken. 1 person is missing. Residents fear the attacks are meant to undermine the peace deals between the 2 communities and could lead to counter-attacks and mass displacements. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Elsewhere now, the National Assembly and the Senate are locked in another round of a supremacy contest over the role and superiority of each house, with the National Assembly saying that the Senate should be scrapped.
The National Assembly claims the senators have been trying to exercise powers that legally belong to them. This comes even as the split over the division of revenue bill widens.
The bicameral parliament has been characterized by constant fighting over the roles of either house. The National Assembly accuses the Senate of overstepping its mandate and duplicating roles that constitutionally belonged to it.
And these public and state officers, we must tell them, the Senate has no powers to impeach you. The Senate has no powers to remove you from office. So even if they indict you, they threaten you, the only house that has the powers under the Constitution to vet and to remove state officers is the National Assembly.
That the problem where we are is that we have a Senate that wants to expand its territory beyond what is in the Constitution. In fact, senators are now behaving like bandits, Mr. Speaker. They are bandits attacking the responsibility and functions of the National Assembly.
If you think you want to intimidate us, Mr. Speaker, the fact that the majority leader in the Senate, Mr. Speaker, is leading a process of going to court to establish the truth on laws of the Republic of Kenya should actually tell these characters that we are beyond intimidation.
But for somebody to say that Senate is an idle institution, that kind of person did not take a proper oath, because that oath requires him to defend and protect the Constitution. And that Constitution protects the Senate and the counties. If they continue with that language, it means that they want to kill devolution. They want to kill devolution.
The Senate has, on the other hand, accused the National Assembly of gross violation of the Constitution by enacting the Appropriations Bill 2019 without a resolution on the division of revenue bill that has pitted the 2 houses against each other.
The Senate must caution any state organ charged with the implementation of Appropriation Act 2019, including the National Treasury, and the control of budget, that any action taken under the Act may be unlawful as it would be fruit of the poison tree, as they say in law.
The debate comes after it emerged that senators were moving to the High Court to challenge the legality of 14 laws they claim were enacted by the National Assembly without their input. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
And now to squabbles at the Mashinani level. Taita Taveta Governor Granton Samboja's intention to see his county government dissolved has stirred up the proverbial hornet's nest.
The Senate's Devolution Committee has described the move as rash, and experts say it has exposed weaknesses in the system in as far as resolving intra-governmental conflict is concerned.
It has also revived debate on the minimum qualifications that should be required for one to be a member of County Assembly.
Members of the Nairobi County Assembly making a nuisance of themselves in every sense of the word on the floor of their house. The MCAs, like toddlers, throwing a tantrum to get their way. Their brute force tactics having served them well in the past. While the Taita Taveta MCAs may not be engaged in an all-out brawl with their governor, he claims their spiteful frustration of his development agenda has pushed him to the point where he would rather risk it all at the polls than continue to deal with the same crop of leaders for the next 3 years. The straw that broke the camel's back being their blatant disregard of the Public Finance Management Act in awarding themselves $830 million for the Ward Development Fund. And as far as the allocation is concerned, the governor is supported.
That's not acceptable. Even the constitution is against that. There are amounts that are provided that are supposed to go to the development, amounts that are supposed to be going to recurrent. So if you exceed that, it's seriously against the law.
Causing some to take the view that the MCA's default setting is brute force because they are ill-equipped to articulate their positions tactfully.
That transitional clause that were passed in the previous parliament will require that you have a degree. And I think for MCA, and that is what will ensure that, because now it's post Form 4 requirement, so that we build on capacity of the MCAs.
That's not to say that the Taita Taveta governor's decision to dissolve the county government before exhausting all other venues has been viewed favorably.
As a committee, the position we have taken, and we are willing, we'll discuss with the plenary in the Senate and other relevant committees, is to ensure that we use the mediation or the alternative dispute resolution, because if we go through this process, although constitution is provided for, the people will suffer most are the residents of Taita Taveta.
Seeking orders to preserve the figures that were initially presented to the county assembly for purposes of getting money for critical services. Then number 3, which is now the more political approach, to have the Senate intervene in this matter.
All of which, the experts say, has laid bare the need to establish more robust intragovernmental conflict resolution mechanisms.
The Makueni situation having taken place and such conflict having ensued and escalated to the extent that it did, and the situation also in Taita Taveta today should bring the attention of the Council of Governors as an institution taking care of the interests of county governments to find mechanisms of intra-county conflict resolution.
Olive Barrows, NTV.
Now, the Director of Digital Communications at State House, Dennis Itumbi, will spend his night at the Muthaiga police station after detectives arrested him over links to a forged letter alleged a plot to assassinate Deputy President William Ruto.
Itumbi was arrested shortly after 1 p.m. as investigators narrowed down on people within the DP's office they suspect authored the fake letter. NTV's Silas Apollo reports.
Just minutes after 1 p.m. Wednesday afternoon today, detectives from the DCI, acting on a tip, pounced on controversial blogger and an aide in the office of the Deputy President, Dennis Itumbi. His arrest has been linked to claims that individuals in the office of the DP had authored what has turned out to be a fake letter alleging a plot to assassinate the DP. Itumbi spent the better part of Wednesday afternoon answering questions from the detectives at the DCI headquarters on Kiambu Road.
We think that the charges will oscillate around that particular publication, but we don't know yet the charges that are being preferred against him.
Itumbi was charged with the offense of publishing alarming information. The arrest of Itumbi comes just days after detectives narrowed down their investigations to 2 aides in the office of the Deputy President, said to have authored the fake assassination letter. In the letter, which detectives say was forged, a cabinet secretary whose name has been redacted was complaining to President Uhuru Kenyatta about a meeting of leaders from the Mount Kenya region where the plot to kill Ruto was discussed. 3 cabinet secretaries, Peter Munya of Industrialization, Joe Musheru of ICT, and Cecily Kariuki of Health, have since answered summons to record statements with the DCI. They have also denied the series of meetings with other leaders at the Lamada Hotel along Thika Road, where they are said to have discussed about the assassination plot. DP Ruto is yet to record a statement with the DCI after he rejected an officer assigned to him. Itumbi operates from the DP's office after he fell out with Chief of Staff Musyoka will spend his night at the Muthaiga police station, awaiting his possible arraignment in courts tomorrow as detectives narrow in on suspects behind the fake letter. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Now to the actual loss of life, a promising life. One at the doorstep of a whole new world of opportunity was tragically ended by the whims of impunity. Derek Masharia Githinji was knocked down to death by a boda boda just days before his graduation at Daystar University.
Well, today, his family and friends gathered at their rural home in Muranga for his final send-off. Much as they deliberately steered off delving into the details of how he died, the emotions and subtle undertones told a lot.
Charity Mwangi reports that the reality of road carnage on account of boda bodas remains true.
I'd like to ask the parent not to come and speak, but just to come forward.
Laden with joy that sat under a cloud of sorrow, Teresia Nyambura boldly walked up the podium at Daystar University to receive a Bachelor of Arts degree certification in electronic media on behalf of her son Derek Masharia Githinji, who passed away 5 days prior to the much-awaited graduation day. 4 days after the day of the Black Robes of Honor, to a black day for Derek's family and friends. But his bright personality denied the darkness to reign at his burial.
One time I would tell him, when you start going abroad, unilete nguo za designer. And then he would say, mimi, nijipate kwa duka nikiitisha nguo za kamama kafupi karound.
His humor spread to his passion in his faith and his desire to help his peers.
One of the ways he would witness is finding makangas who used to chew miraa. And he would say hi to them and tell them, niaje nebs. And nobody would get what the nebs was. Eh? And then it was Nebuchadnezzar, by the way. Eh?
Nonetheless, there are moments of sadness.
He told me, Cash, kitu yote kifanyika ujue nakupenda.
His favorite slogan was, "It's never too serious," but his death was serious and sudden. He was allegedly killed by a boda boda rider who knocked him over while he was crossing the road on his way to the shop to buy household items for his family.
Watoto wetu wamekuwa wamekufia hapa kwa sababu watu wa baisikeli wa pikipiki wanakimbia sana.
This highlights the concerns raised about boda boda operators seemingly operating with impunity. Impunity that will steal a promising man's shine. Derek will never get to practice his craft as a media practitioner, but his passion never went unnoticed.
His desire was to script and create animations for children.
Derek is one among many who've met their death on account of what can be viewed as recklessness by boda boda operators oblivious of the suffering they leave behind. Maybe, just maybe, his death may spark the need to regulate this emerging transport industry. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
May his soul rest in peace and grace to his family. All right, it's time for a breather on NTV tonight, but as always, there is more.
We'll be telling you why President Kenyatta is still unlikely to call for a Jubilee Party meeting.
a shave others will notice.
Vidyarthi. You're watching NTV Tonight. Here's a quick recap of some of our top stories. A Tanzanian national found guilty of aiding the 2015 Garissa University attack has been handed a life sentence.
Two others, Muhammad Ali Abdikar and Hassan Aidan Hassan, were each handed a 41-year sentence for their involvement in the death of 148 people.
Another top story, the National Assembly and the Senate are locked in another round of supremacy contests, with the National Assembly saying the Senate should be scrapped for duplicating its role.
The Senate has also gone to court to challenge laws by the National Assembly passed without their input.
Meanwhile, Director of Digital Communications at State House, one-time director there and now under DP's office, Dennis Itumi will spend the night in custody after he was arrested over a forged letter alleging a plot to assassinate the deputy president.
The DCI says it had narrowed down to 2 aides in the DP's office suspected to have authored and circulated the letter. Well, now let's turn to the courts, and Starahe Member of Parliament Charles Njagwa Kanyi has been released on a 500,000 shilling cash bail after he denied incitement charges preferred against him.
Njagwa appeared before Chief Magistrate Francis Andai to take plea after spending close to 10 days in police custody.
The prosecution told the court that the remarks made by the first-time legislator were intended to incite Kenyans against foreigners living and doing business in the country.
The National Cohesion and Integration Commission and the Communication Authority will be some of the prosecution witnesses when the trial begins.
Elsewhere, Brian Kibet, the engineering student who was shot in the arm as he scaled the fence of State House in Nairobi, will know his fate tomorrow.
Kibet has since apologized to President Kenyatta and Kenyans for his actions. The family has been given time to consult with the police and agree whether he will be released to them to take him to hospital.
The charges against him were not read after a mental health assessment by the Mathare Hospital revealed that he is, in fact, schizophrenic.
Still from the court, and former Tetu Member of Parliament James Ndongo Ngevenji and 2 others have been charged with creating disturbance in a manner likely to cause breach of peace.
The 3 face 3 counts of assault, creating disturbance and malicious damage to property, where on the 2nd of July 2019 in Kitusuru Estate in Nairobi, they stopped the renovation of a house belonging to Kisor Kumar Danji Varsani.
Nairobi Chief Magistrate Martha Mutuku released them on a cash bail of 50,000 shillings or bond of 100,000 shillings. To some politics now, and in what could deepen tensions between the president and his deputy, State House has ignored the DP's call for the president to convene a party meeting to heal the rifts chipping away at the ruling party.
Well, some political commentators say that the president's move was prudent as it would help avoid even more strain, while others argue that the DP was in open defiance of the president, who called on leaders to keep off politics.
Despite the public shows of harmony by leaders in the ruling party, their relationship in private has been framed by disgruntled murmurs. And in what may seem as another slap in the face of the deputy president, the president ignored his calls to convene a party meeting to discuss the party's internal fissures.
And like my boss, the president has mentioned before, is that we're not going to delve into any political issues.
Political commentators Richard Bosire and Herman Manyora say the DP's move to call for a meeting defied the president's call for leaders to steer clear of politics.
That's definitely some kind of form of defiance, challenging the president, you know, because I would expect they would see something and then they discuss it.
Jubilee, if you remember, Jubilee was formed in order to propel the president into his second term, but more fundamentally, it was guided by Ruto, or deputy president, so that he could run using Jubilee Party in 2022.
The political pundits argue the president's move to disregard the DP's call was strategic, not just for him as party leader, but also for the stability of the party swayed by internal divisions.
I think Ruto believes he has a bigger following, and he can therefore put pressure on the president to say certain things that the president may otherwise not say. I think that's what I think. So he's trying to box the president into a corner. And Uhuru is not a boy, like he said the other day.
He is also playing safe so that he can keep the party together. Or he's also, in other words, does not want an embarrassment, because there could be an embarrassment in that particular meeting where there perhaps will be a shouting match in the presence of the president, and it might cause perhaps some people to find exit from the party, to find actually an excuse to quit Jubilee.
The president has the unenviable task of steering a rather shaky ship as far away from the rapids as he possibly can, as the party faces an acrimonious split amid claims that some within the party were working to scuttle the deputy president's presidential ambitions. Vincent Odur, NTV.
32 minutes past the hour. We take another break, and now for business. There's probably some good news for people.
That's right, and milk prices are set to drop. We'll tell you by how much and from when on the business news.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
for maize imports is set to be opened at the end of this month and remain open until the end of October as the government moves to plug a deficit in the local market. The Ministry of Agriculture says that at least 12.5 million bags will be imported to stabilize the prices of unga that have seen shelf prices hit 125 shillings per 2-kilogram packet of maize meal.
There's enough maize in the country to last us up to end of July. We are now thinking about importing maize, and we've taken the necessary measures. We are just waiting for the final approval so that it's given for us to import. And we are going to import about 12.5 million bags. 10 million white maize and 2.5 million of yellow maize. The maize will be imported duty-free by a private sector. The government will not be involved, and they'll provide direction and what to be done. So we hope the millers will be sensitive enough to ensure that maize, the prices of flour don't go up so much. At the moment, it's doing about 115 to 120. We hope it can come lower than that, with less than 100 shillings.
Now, for more details on this story, be sure to grab a copy of the Business Daily tomorrow. Now, we continue to some good news for milk consumers as retail prices fall by at least 5 shillings per half-litre packet. This change in price, however, will only affect milk produced by the new Kenya Cooperative Creameries. New KCC says the move to cut prices has been made possible by the 25% growth in milk volume supplied by farmers. A 500 millilitres packet of long-life milk will now retail at 50 shillings, down from 55 shillings, while fresh milk on pouch package will sell at 48 shillings from 50 shillings previously. Data by the Kenya Dairy Board indicates that the state-owned dairy now commands 35% of the raw milk market, slightly behind Brookside Dairies, the market leader, with a 40% share of the market. Now, favorable taxes and regional preferential treaties are the two top ingredients that could help unlock the potential of the manufacturing sector, according to a study done by Strathmore University and CISPRO, a software developer for enterprise resource planning. Here's Alex Mwangi to paint a picture of the report's highlights.
The study saw interviews conducted with close to 100 companies drawn from 12 sectors of the production and manufacturing industries in Kenya. It comes at a time when concerns are mounting on how to address the challenge of training citizens to have the right skills to promote the sector.
What we would appreciate, of course, is greater participation by manufacturers in shaping the curriculum of these institutions.
The challenge for policymakers going forward is that technological advancements globally have reached the level where every so often they render the education meant to enable the youth get and create jobs obsolete within a very short time.
They're also talking in the information age that by the time you start university and you finish university 3, 5 or 7 years later, what you started learning will be outdated by the time you finish your degree.
And therefore it called for all of us to be able to understand and even have a broader view on how the dynamics of the global environment operate. And I get a sense that some of us perhaps have not been able to understand that. We are living in an environment that is very competitive.
Other factors that have a bearing on Kenya's manufacturing sector include a reduction in the cost of production, upgrading of existing technologies, and increasing the efficiency of production. External factors beyond the control of any single government, however, are also playing a role in denting the volume of global trade.
Tariffs are the most visible contributor to globalization, or slowing down of globalization, or globalization. Instead of fixing the world's problems, globalization has actually fed a summer of discontent with many organizations around the world.
Support for apprenticeship and graduate internships were identified as major initiatives that will make local manufacturing an attractive business venture. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
The International Trade Center has kicked off the first ever tea century and blending skills program for Kenyan companies and packers in the specialty tea sector. Now, the training is aimed at helping them diversify their product offer and adapt to new tea consumption trends in global market. Tea consumption in East Africa has been growing over the last few years, but consumption trends are shifting away from the traditional preference for black tea to new products such as fruit and herbal blends or cold brews. As part of the program, the ITC will retain the company's own tea century and blending skills, as well as regulations required to access the European Union market as Kenya seeks to venture into new markets for its high-quality tea. Conditions in the business environment registered a general improvement between May and June 2019, according to Stanbic Bank's Purchasing Managers Index. The index, which tracks the pulse of business activity monthly, stood at 54.3 in June 2019, up from 51.3 in the preceding month. Stanbic has attributed this improvement to increased orders registered by businesses and improved cash flow. This comes at a time when growth in the private sector stands at 4.9%, the highest growth rate reported since the cap on lending rates came into force force. The bank further reports that the level of employment hit a 30-month high in June 2019. Now, Kenya and Qatar have signed a deal that will give Qatar Airways greater access to Mombasa. The deal will increase the number of daily flights from Doha to Mombasa for Qatar's national carrier to 2. The deal has the potential of eating into the market share of Kenya Airways, but on the other hand, it is expected to contribute to additional tourist arrivals in the coastal city. The deal was signed by Transport CS James Masharia and his Qatari counterpart. And speaking of the economy, just an update on how the shilling traded today, and the local currency has weakened to 103 units of exchange to the US dollar, pushing it to a position it last stood on January 17, 2018. The weakness by the local currency comes at a time when the country's foreign exchange reserves have dwindled to 9.1 billion US dollars following settlement of foreign currency debt payment obligations on June the 24th this year, that is 2019. Just an update. Now, competition heightens in the local beverages market as soft drink maker Coca-Cola launched 4 products with the aim of giving their consumers more options. The company aims at creating more opportunities for use of local ingredients and also encourage and enable their consumers to control added sugar consumption. Now, Coca-Cola has invested 9.3 billion shillings in its production and packaging lines to cater for the new brands. The American-owned firm, which remains the biggest maker of soft drinks in the country, says it has invested over 8.5 billion shillings in Kenya.
We are investing to get our consumers more of what they want.
Business and myself are both done, just that business is not Mwangi, but coming up. It's drama as a police officer has been killed, but it could be more than Mr. I. We tell you why.
When the spirit of Kenya got going that magical day, it never looked back. And now, the same spirit is ready to take Kenya to the next level, led proudly by a new generation. Kenya King, Shangilia, Hustle ya Kenya.
Kwa majina naitwa Teresia Wahu Kamira. Nimetoka upande wa Nakuru, China's Boys, Kiongororia. Nilishinda 1200. Nafanya kazi ya mobile salon. Naenda nyumba kwa nyumba, mtu akinipigia simu naenda. I'm 21 years. Nilikuwa nimelala hivi nikasikia wakisema, unajua mimi sikuwa na pesa, nikasema hapa niko na 100 na nimesikia Super 5. Hiyo ni ya Super 5. Nikasema acha nicheze.
Namba 5, ushinde shilingi milioni 10 in the next 10 minutes. Nenda kwenye paybill number 299555. Kwenye account number, chagua namba zako 5 za bahati kati ya 0 na 9 zikifuatiwa na neno NTV. Chagua pesa utakazowekeza kati ya shilingi 20 na 1000. Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Crunchy peanuts, smooth caramel, creamy chocolate and nougat. You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers satisfies.
Welcome to Lavington United Sacco, a society that promotes unity and empowers you through mobilization of financial resources and services for your socio-economic well-being. We deliver emergency loans, development loans, car loans, school fees loans, and a wide range of other loans at the lowest lending rate of 1% per month. Find us today at Kamirembe Place, 2nd floor, Kilimani. Visit www.lavingtonunitedsacco.co.ke or call us on 0717 298 258. Lavington United Sacco, moving forward together.
This is MotoHub, ultimately Kenya's finest car dealer company. Our cars are carefully sourced and selected, backed up with excellent skilled personnel. Our aim is to ensure value for your money as well as peace of mind.
When it comes to affordability check, reliability check, finance check, quality redefined check, any type of car check. Whenever you need that dream car, tutembele. Mambo hapa yamenyooka nyoro.
So, are you in need of a car? Now you know. MotoHub, we are quality redefined.
Making my family some nutritious porridge is a painstaking process. First, I have to find all the ingredients needed, and there are many. For vitamins, proteins, and minerals, I need cassava, sorghum, millet. You no longer need to go through all that to make nutritious porridge. All you need is NutriPro.
You don't have to go through the trouble of finding, measuring, and weighing all these vital ingredients. New NutriPro porridge flour comes fortified with 13 vitamins, proteins, and minerals. This means that you have more time to focus on what's important, giving your family the healthy start they deserve. NutriPro, bringing families together. From Tropical Brand.
Thank you for staying with us. Shock and grief engulfed Kaplaba village in Kipkelion West when a man was found killed under unclear circumstances.
Residents are now calling on the government to conduct thorough investigations as the man's wife was also killed in unclear circumstances a year ago.
This was the state of affairs at Kaplaba village in Kipkelion West Sub-County, where residents were demonstrating over the death of a local resident. The body of Justice Toh, an administration police officer attached to the Kutolo AP post in Wajir County, was found by the Londiani Mohoroni Road with stab wounds. The tragic incident comes barely a year after Justice's wife was shot dead by police officers that were attached to the Kipkelion AP camp. But the residents say there is more than meets the eye.
Titus amewawa na bibi yake alikuwa amewawa. Alafu witness mwenye alikuwa akiitwa Soe tulisikia alichomwa kwa nyumba.
The Kericho County DCIO says they had sent the inquest file to the Director of Public Prosecutions with recommendations that some of the officers be prosecuted.
Tunaomba Waziri Matiang'i uingilie kati hii maneno ukuje paka Kipkelion kwa sababu tunakufa one by one.
Viongozi wa Kipkelion tunawaambia mkiendelea kulala sisi kama wananchi tutaanza kuzungumza na kuzungumza kwetu tutafanya maandamano na vita itaanza hapa Kipkelion.
The body was moved to Kericho Sub-County Hospital mortuary. Anita Nkonge, NTV.
Elsewhere, a Kenyan scientist is among a team of researchers who have discovered a new drug that can potentially cure HIV.
In what is being termed as a major collaborative effort, the researchers have, for the first time, inched closer to finding a potential cure for HIV.
In your Daily Nation tomorrow, read the inspiring story that could turn around the lives of millions of people.
Make sure you get your copy of the Daily Nation tomorrow for more on that story. And yes, we're taking another break for sports.
That's right. And on the sports news, here's what you can expect. The Safari Rally revs off on Friday. We give you a feel of the preparations after this break.
I told you to kick it more to the left.
No, kick it higher.
No, to the left.
Come on, guys, stop it. Remember the win.
OneXBet, African betting partner of Tottenham Hotspur.
When the spirit of Kenya got going that magical day, it never looked back. And now, the same spirit is ready to take Kenya to the next level, led proudly by a new generation. Kenya King, Shangilia, hustle ya Kenya.
Ukishaoana na mtu mumeoana, hakuna kuachana. Kama akona ananukanga mdomo, wewe unaishi na hiyo mwembe tayari forever.
Inafikanga mahali anaanza kuelezea mtu hiyo joke, lakini akielezea mtu hiyo joke kitu unasikia tu ni kicheko. Au sikii joke. Wewe jamaa amesema, jekeja ukaza amesema kale wasa.
Kwa nini simu yangu ni nzito hivi? Unasikia hujui? Delete picture sister yako akinyana kwanga mnono mzito.
Okash is the quickest and easiest way to request short-term loans from your mobile phone whenever you need them. You can borrow up to 50,000 Kenya shillings in one day and choose between a 14 or 28-day term to repay it. Download Okash today from Google Play Store, enjoying the Okash experience.
A very good evening to you. It is time to play on NTV tonight. Welcome to NTV Sport. I am Warote Kiru. The countdown to the 2019 Safari Rally continues with the Motorsport World Governing Body, FIA, officials conducting scrutineering for all cars competing at the event at Kasarani as drivers began their recce on the floor of Rift Valley. Sean Kadovilis with the details.
Kenya's quest to return the iconic Safari Rally to the World Rally Championship will rev off Friday at the Kasarani Stadium grounds. Ahead of rubber meeting the road, the rally cars have to be in perfect condition as specified by the motorsports governing body FIA. This process, technically known as scrutineering, is designated for Wednesday and Thursday for all the 51 cars entered for the Safari.
Basically, in scrutineering, we ensure that the cars rally in a safe manner and also fair, in that they enter in the class, they rally in the class that they've entered.
Given that this is a candidate event for the World Rally Championship, the rules are much more stricter.
The rules are more stringent, and then we've come in with the government, has supported us very heavily, so we've got adequate funding and equipment to measure up to the task.
With scrutineering ongoing at Kasarani, drivers and navigators familiarize themselves with the route in the Rift Valley. The drive-through before the main event to collect information is what is referred to as recce. The Safari Rally will kick off with a 4.3-kilometer spectator stage at the Kasarani Stadium from 10 a.m. on Friday. Day 2 rallying action will begin at 6 a.m. with 3 stages that will be repeated in Soisambu, Elementaita and Sleeping Warrior in the Rift Valley. The final day of competition will see action move to Kidong, where yet again 3 stages will be tackled at Malewa, Loldia and Kidong. So with the scrutineering ongoing and the recceing happening in Naivasha and Elementaita, you get the sense that the Safari Rally is just about to get underway. Sean Carter-Villis, NTV at the Kasarani Complex.
Friday is when it all revs off. And on to football, and the national football team Harambee Stars will return to the country early Thursday morning, having exited the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations at the group stage. Kenya missed out on a chance to sail into the round of 16 as one of the 3 best third-placed teams after Benin held Cameroon to a barren draw. At AFCON, Kenya won once, lost twice, scoring 3 goals and conceding 7. The month-long tournament will return from a 2-day break on Friday with tantalizing round of 16 matches in store. Morocco, coached by legendary coach Hervé Renard, who is seeking a 3rd AFCON title, will face Benin, who are playing in the knockout stages for the first time. The only remaining East Africa representatives, Uganda, will then face the highest-ranked nation in Africa, Senegal. On to athletics, and Mercy Wanjiru of Lanet was victorious in the women's 3,000 meters steeplechase as the Kenya Defence Forces KDF Athletics Championships entered the second day at the Kasarani Stadium. Wanjiru clocked 9 minutes 45.9 seconds to finish ahead of Naomi Chepkemoi, Agnes Chesang and Joelyn Chemutai. Emily Ngi stopped the winning 18-year reign of Grace Wanjiru in the 20-kilometer walk race. In the men's walking event, defending champion Simon Washira defended his title. Petronila Mwombo won in long and triple jump, while Bethuel Lagat jumped best in the men's long jump. Alexander Kiprotich showed his pedigree in javelin. The 40th edition of the KDF Championship is being used to select the team that will